Hey everyone, I just wanted to come on here and discuss a news segment clip that I saw on MSNBC the other day, and it's just very troubling. As we are not only living in the last days; these are the final hours, possibly final minutes, because you just see the deception and the okey doke and the trickery that the governments all across the earth and the media is doing. And they're doing it to the Most High's chosen children, the true chosen children, the Israelites, or the people of Yahsharal. And they have really been trying to push this vaccine since the very beginning of the year, before anybody even supposedly barely knew anything about coronavirus or COVID 19. They were already saying that so called black people are the ones that are most prone um, to getting the virus and dying from it once they get it. And it's just been conflicting studies and statements that are going throughout the media. On the one end, they got studies showing that people with type A or type B blood or Neanderthal DNA are the people who are having the hardest time when they contract COVID 19. They're most susceptible to it. They're more likely to need a ventilator once they have it. It's more deadly for them. And so, right there, that's contradictory because we know that the majority of so called black people are type O blood and do not possess Neanderthal DNA. So it's like, which one is it? Why are we the ones that are front and center as being the most impacted by it, but yet they're doing independent studies and research, and it's actually people that have what I just stated, the A or B blood or Neanderthal DNA, which is not the majority of so-called black people. And they're actually the ones that are being taken out by this. On top of that, you got black city mayors all over the United States coming out, asking, can black people be the first in line to take the vaccine, and making requests on behalf of black people. And then the actual MSNBC interview clip that I'm going to show in a second, it actually has a 16-year-old girl saying that she's a part of the trial and that her parents did it first and then they encouraged her to do it. And it was just so disturbing to me because there was actually another article that I saw, and it literally read that the COVID 19 vaccine trials won't work unless black people participate. And so I just have I can't wrap my mind around that. Like, why is a vaccine working or not working solely contingent on a specific group of people participating in the trial? And it just seems like there's so much focus on getting black people to get injected with this thing from the beginning, of this year. And it just broke my heart to see this little 16-year-old on here. And then the news anchors just egging her on. They're talking about she's being brave and she's on the front lines and thank you. basically like she's a hero. And and she's like, yeah, I feel like people my age, people of color, which I hate that term, because people of color is supposed to, um I mean, they go back and forth with who they want it to represent. Now, when it comes to legislation, they write in people of color, and it's usually other people, so-called Asian people or so-called Hispanic people, or anybody that's non-black, usually benefits from legislations where they write people of color. But now they're like, well, we need people of color to do trials and be tested on with the vaccine. And then you have the face of a young black teen. This isn't an Asian girl. This isn't a so-called Indian girl. This isn't a Latina. This is a black girl. And so in the article that I was referring to before, where they're talking about this vaccine won't work unless black people participate in it, the a doctor that they interviewed was just saying, well, yeah, the black people, they keep bringing up the Tuskegee, the syphilis trials as being the reasons why they don't want to participate. Well, yeah, like that's not something that's forgettable. You specifically tested on black men and no other groups. Like, you infected them just for your own benefits, to try to find a cure or whatever that you were trying to do. But you were misleading, and then flat out lied to some of them and did not tell them everything what's going on. And now you're saying, okay, well, yeah, that was wrong that we did that in the past. Now we need you guys to step up, and it's legit this time. We're not gonna, it's no shenanigans going on. So it's just pay attention in the media, how it's very, everything is being focused and centered around getting this thing injected into black people. Prophecy said that in the last days, Babylon, the Israelites were going to be surrounded, and they were just going to be to the point where they're going to be almost all overtaken. And it just seems like, especially Trump and the next Biden, are getting the military involved into administering vaccines, which is absolutely crazy. That's how is this isn't a military thing. We've never had a moment where a vaccine in America was forced upon people, let alone by the military. So they are really, they are absolutely doing the utmost. They're really trying to go above and beyond to make sure whatever they're wanting to inject, and it's not even just one injection. They're talking about this is happening in phases. So you have to do it, and then 2 weeks later, take a second injection. And then I heard another guy on another interview saying it might even be a third or more. Excuse me one second. It might even be a third injection or more. They don't know. They'll just have to wait and see. Okay, well, usually vaccines take at least 5 years to develop. They've gotten whatever they've gotten together barely in a few months, less than a year, and they want everybody to trust them. But just watch and listen to how they're honing in, listen to how they're trying to get especially the inner cities, highly black populated cities, to be the first to go ahead and get injected. Pay attention to that. And then they also said that areas that get a bunch of cell phone pings that have high cell phone ping volume areas are going to be the ones to get the injections, which we all know that a lot of the bigger cities are going to have a lot of black people in them. Black people usually do not live in rural areas where there are less cell phone pings, or even in the suburbs. So they are focusing on high population, high density inner city areas and black people. Like they're really trying to push this and do this. And everybody just keep watching and keep listening and holding on to their language and exactly what they're trying to say. And so go ahead and watch the video. I'm about to put this at the end, and I was just so saddened to hear this little girl thinks that her and her family are really doing something great, and little do they know they're actually being set up. They are being set up. Don't fall for the okie doke. Protect your families. Don't allow them to talk you into getting injected with this. All right. Peace and love. And thank you to the Most High Yahuwah for opening my mind and bringing so much knowledge upon me, and allowing me to see so I can help show this to other people in these last days. You guys have a great day. Shalom.
With a vaccine coming, we could be at the beginning of the end of the pandemic. And yes, I just said those words. And while a lot of the credit to that vaccine belongs to the researchers, the success of the vaccine is dependent on the thousands of people who were willing to participate in the trials and potentially risk their own health in the process. My next guest is one of those brave souls, and she is just 16 years old. Joining me now is 16-year-old Pfizer vaccine trial participant Melanie. Although Melanie, I'm going to caveat it by saying that I think I was a lot braver when I was 16 years old than I am right now. Still, kudos to you. What was it like being a part of this? Did you get nervous?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't really hit me until I was initially there, but I knew that I was doing it, for a good cause. And it's important, that people of color especially, but also people in my age group are represented in the trial.
And why, how did you get involved? When you found out there were trials, did you go to your parents and say, you got to get me into one of these?
Yeah, so actually both my parents did the trial as well, and I did it about a month later. My mom had asked me, and at first I was like, and then I decided, it's something I'm called to do. With the U.S. surpassing 200,000 deaths, it's hard as a teenager to watch. So it was really important that I did it and participated, and I stand by my decision.
Did you feel any side effects, or have you so far?
No, one of the large misconceptions is that it's possible to get COVID. It's actually not possible to get COVID from the vaccine whatsoever. I did my first dose a couple weeks ago, and I have a second one in mid-December, but nothing other than a sore arm after a flu shot. No fatigue, no headache.
Are they warning you about anything that could come after the second dose?
No, I know there's plenty articles, but I really trust Cincinnati Children's Hospital and them leading it, and I'm confident that this is what has to happen in order to get it publicly administered.
How do you feel knowing that a Pfizer vaccine is days, weeks away from being approved here, already approved in the UK, knowing that you are a part of it?
Yeah, I'm proud to know that I'm a part of the change, and it's really, really important. People on the front lines, quality of education, is even being affected, and also, mental health as well. Not just the physical health, but mental health, especially in my age group. It's really hard, seeing people my age affected. So I think it's giving Americans just that glimpse of hope that we need, and I'm glad to be a part of that.
Not for nothing, but this would make a really good college application essay. Melanie, thank you so much for joining us. You don't have to take my advice. I'm just thinking that not very many people will be able to put that down on paper. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experience. And thank you for being a part of this and helping us all get over what has just been a terrible, terrible time. Good luck. And that's going to do it for me today. If you are going outside, wear a mask. If you're staying inside, Eamon Moydeen picks up our coverage after a quick break.
There's a couple things I just wanted to add after watching that video. First thing that I did notice while I was watching it, so I just thought the irony, her name is Melanie, which when I hear that name, I think of melanin, which is, melanin is definitely related to the Most High's chosen, who they're really trying to push this vaccine on. The second thing I noticed that she said was a misconception is people think that it's possible to get COVID after taking the vaccine, and that's a common misconception, and it's actually not possible to get COVID-19 from the vaccine. And I'm like, how do they know? This trial has been going on for less than a year, and the vaccine itself, I mean, is being quickly developed, and it's not even, at its final stage. Like, they don't know what will happen. So I just thought that was crazy to just make that statement that it is not possible to get COVID after taking or from the vaccine. And then finally, I just noticed at the end, the news anchor thanked Melanie. Thank you for helping us get through this terrible time. And again, it's like, how do you know? Nothing is over yet. And it's just baffling how so many people think the year 2020 is the problem. And they think that once the calendar flips over to January 1st, that things are going to get better. And little do people know, once 2021 hits, you're going to be seeing so many hashtags, 2020 come back, because 2021 is not going to be any better. And people are going to be wishing for 2020 again. So I just don't see why people keep trying to, melt this down and put it as a time in history, and it's almost over and we're about to get through it. And that's just delusional.